computer. All right, what's up? What's up, Grand Rising Elizabeth? I'm Lolly, and I am one of your hosts for today, along with our co-host and founder, I said Grand Rising, Queen Aduni. Oh, give it up, give it up, give it up. Woo! All right, so this is a wonderful Friday. Let me just start off by saying I am grateful that I've made it through another weekday, I guess you could say, work week, whatever you want to call it. It's beautiful. The sun is shining. It's warm. My baby, she's getting her milk, Started off the day with some yoga. Just, this is great. I think, did I make it 5 days of yoga in the first thing in the morning? I think so. So I'm proud of myself. Make sure you do something for you today and any day. Um, but today we are here for something that's more important than me doing yoga. It's Passion and Purpose Friday, y'all. Passion and Purpose Friday, where we talk about people's passions and their purpose and how it aligns. And so we have a special guest here today that I wanted to kind of give some background to before I bring her up and pin her. But this is I'm gonna call her a revolutionary artist. I love, true hip hop. In this age, there's so many genres of music that come out, and the popular music is not always the most I don't know, reflective of what genuine true hip hop is. I'll say that. And so I don't know, when did I can't remember when I first met you or came across paths with you. But ever since, it's been so many different just opportunities to see her light shine within her artistry. Even recently, I was able to do background vocals for a show that was really cool, and it got some coverage in France. That was crazy. We got to talk more about that later. But I'm gonna read her bio and pin her up. She's really amazing. Born in Detroit, Michigan, and raised in the humble city of Inkster. Though it's been said that superstars are born every day, there has always been one that shines brighter than the rest. And she goes by the name of, I know you've been waiting for this, AbStract Jazz. Detroit is where she honed her artistic skills and found her voice in the arts. Passion led to Chicago and the desire to attend Columbia College in Chicago. After a decade, she returned home to continue inspiring the world through her arts. AbStract Jazz, you may see it as ABJZ, has the ability to visualize melodies and express emotions verbally and sonically through her nostalgic production and design. Her dynamic style of poetic metaphors and wordplay will astound anyone who has a moment to watch and listen. So that let's raise up, highlight, just really give claps to, kudos, love to AbStract Jazz, y'all.
Thank,
Yes, yes.
thank you, Lolly, for that. That was very grandeur. I mean, that put the grand and grand rising Elizabeth. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So first, I know I gave my little background spiel on you, but like I want to hear from you. What is your passion, in life? I mean, I'm clearly you make music, you're an artist, but like really, what is your passion?
My passion is sharing my story and finding different ways to share my story, not even just through my art and as an artist, but like as a way of life, like how I dress, when I make my plate, like I kind of see the world through a total different lens. And with it being a story, with any good story, there's a beginning, middle, and end. And to be realistic and also kind of a little morbid, that's kind of how I see my life. Because none of us will be here, forever in this realm. So I take each day as a way of telling my story. So each day is another day for me to share my story, and that's what I'm passionate about, is how can I incorporate that into, my everyday life as well as my art. So yeah, long answer.
Don't worry, we like long answers around here. So, okay, so with that, what really sparked your creativity? What sparked your movement into the arts and expression of those arts?
Well, I started writing, just writing everything, writing songs, copying things out of books and magazines. I have an older sister, we're 9 years apart, and we used to share a room. And she had a diary, she had a journal, and she would write in it, a lot. And I was just like inspired, like, I wonder what she's writing. I would read it sometimes, I was a little sister. And I loved her penmanship. Like, I really fell in love with like certain qualities of paper, RSVP ink pens. Like, I really got immersed with the whole concept of writing. And then that kind of opened the floodgates to reading. And I would say when I was younger coming up, I wasn't like a lover of books as I am now. I'm like a bookworm now. Um, but I would say somewhere around 9 and 12 is where I started to be able to like really read and hear the author's voice. And a lot of times, I've never met the artist. The only way um, anything about anybody is because you either heard something or you read something or you saw something. So being able to do that at a young age kind of prepared me to dive into, when I'm writing, I was able to start hearing my own voice, and not just the voice of my parents or the voice of what society is projecting. I was like, oh, this is me. This is me. This is what it sounds like. Um, and yeah, so through writing and reading and then reciting it, those was like the foundations of discovering my purpose.
Awesome. Awesome. So, what was, if you can remember, was there like the first thing you remember sharing, a first poem or rap or whatever? Do you remember what that was?
Yes, I do. Let's see. I think I was either a freshman in high school or maybe I was in 8th grade, somewhere between the two. Since you all love long stories, here you go. So I was invited to an open mic poetry by one of my childhood best friends. Her godmom went to this church. I didn't know it was a church. They just had a flyer. You see, okay, it's more to the story. So I get invited to this open mic. Didn't know it was at a church. I already had a poem in mind. It was called "Why Hate." Yeah, this was 2008, I think. No, yes, I think it was around 2008 because I remember rhyming hate with hate. Hey, anyway, so this poem was very political. It was it was very, like, when you speak of me saying revolutionary, I wouldn't even say it's relevant to to today, what's going on right now. And so I'm doing this poem at this open mic I've been invited to at a church. And I'm like, yo, you think I could do my poem here, like in front of these people? Like, the name of my poem is called Why Hate. Um, and I remember her godmom like, just do your thing, do you, be you, tell your story. So I did that. I performed the piece. Don't ask me to recite it. I don't remember it. I have it in a notebook. I have the notebook. Maybe I'll post that on my social later on today, and we could do a flashback Friday into that. But I ended up performing, and a gentleman approached me after the open mic show. He was just like, I was so captivated by your performance. I really love that poem. I love your insight. I love, like, he really was like, he was able to hear my voice like I was reading coming up. So we had that connection. And we ended up leaving in a car, and her godmother is like, so what was you and the pastor talking about? And I'm like, the pastor? Because he was really young. Like, I think he might have had like gym shoes on. He had a shirt tucked in. So that kind of let me know, okay, this is like a grown man. But I didn't know he was a pastor at all. I thought he was just someone in the community, loving the arts, supporting the people. And they started a youth ministry. We had a youth minister, and this is like all the beginning. So this didn't really exist in that church at all. And they kind of just gave me the platform within a space I wouldn't have thought to really be honest and speak how, I was feeling about how I saw the world at what 15, which is important. So they gave me a platform um, to start using my voice. And then from there, I just started going to more open mics. I started going to more shows, meeting other artists, like-minded individuals. Lolly, I'm sure you're familiar with the poetry scene in Detroit. I would say definitely in like from 2009 to like 2013, it was kind of like another renaissance happening. It was like everywhere you went, there was an event. There was like literally stuff just happening just outside. And I just became immersed in that. And yeah, now here I am. So that was the long story. That's kind of how I started. Kind of started as me just coming out of my shell and doing something different at a different place and learning how to do it confidently all at once. So
Wow.
I'm glad I didn't punk out.
That is funny. A lot of times it's really interesting that you spoke of like that one of those first experiences being in a church and you had no idea. And it really speaks to the importance of, spiritual spaces and religious spaces being open to expression of all types and how pivotal that was for you in your artistic journey in the long run. And so I really that's not my personal mission to go to the people and be like, make sure you have space for the youth to speak. But I mean, maybe it is in a sense, but I'm not going to go to people's churches and do that necessarily. However, I do think we definitely need to continue advocating for that openness, that like willing to listen and then can guide after type thing, because you never know just the type of flowers that are blooming in your presence, and if you're like, nope, smush. I don't
Mhm,
like that. Like you don't
mhm,
allow people to express themselves and truly grow into who they are and their mission in life. So that's really cool. That actually is a really cool story.
mhm.
But I wanted to ask, and I was meaning to ask, I love the name, Abstract Jazz. I love the name, one, because I like abstract art.
Okay.
Two, because I like jazz. And I like to use that influence as well within my creativity. And honestly speaking, like listening, okay, baby, listening to your music and like how you perform and everything, it just is really aligned with like the energy that I like. And I think I've told this to you before.
Mhm.
But where did the name Abstract Jazz come from? Like, how did you curate that?
Okay. So this one will be a shorter story. As I continued to grow in poetry, I actually got into a rap group in high school. We were called Lyrically Unleashed. I'm gonna just leave that right there. Yeah, it was me and my childhood best friends. We were in a rap group, and I kind of was like trying to find a name because I didn't want to just be Jazz, like Jazz. Because my real name is Jazz Lynn, and so I didn't want to like give people the I didn't want to give them the vibe of like, oh, her name is Jasmine. Like, no, I wanted to be very specific as to what the jazz who we're talking about. So I said, okay, let me put abstract in front of it. I didn't realize until maybe I want to say after high school, I probably was influenced by Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest, because he referred to himself as the abstract. Um, but I didn't realize that at that time. I was just like, okay, this works. Put abstract in front of jazz. This works. So that's kind of how it came about. And as I developed as an artist, I realized, oh, I was influenced by all that I was listening to in high school, which was A Tribe Called Quest. Like I heard it, when my older sister was playing it. I would say that era is maybe 10 years before I even existed. So it was always, like that sound wave and that energy. If you're familiar with the group, a Tribe Called Quest, like the best way I can describe it is like, I don't want to say they woke, but they're definitely different than anybody else, in rap history, in hip hop history. Like they are really set apart. They're actually in the Hall of Fame now. And so just listening to that and then stepping back into it and able to listen to it like with a different mentality, I think that kind of influenced me later naming myself after like my favorite artist, one of my favorite artists. So it's paying homage, and then it's also being specific to who jazz, what jazz.
Makes sense. Makes sense. It also makes more sense that that was the music that you were listening to, which is why it's reflective in your music, which is why I was like, oh, I like this.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's interesting, like when we talk about a lot of the artists that are coming up, and for example, just because she's one of my favorite artists, Erykah Badu is one of
Mm-hmm.
my favorite artists, but she has such a major influence in a lot of the artists that are coming up. So you can hear certain elements, and then they're
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh yeah, one of my favorite artists is Erykah Badu," and it's like, "Oh, that's why I like you."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
it makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna share this little video, and then I hope we could speak a little more about it afterwards.
Okay.
You know this video, but you're gonna realize what I'm sharing in just a second. Um, all right.
Oh, okay.
Okay, hold on, let me make sure.
Jasmine Anderson, alias AbStract Jazz, se produit aujourd'hui dans sa ville natale de Détroit. C'est l'un de ses derniers concerts avant la présidentielle.
Oh, sorry. Uh, oh, they only have, okay, never mind. Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me exit out of that.
Et vous, vous allez voter? C'est très adulte. Mes textes sont politiques parce que la vie est politique. Être en vie est politique. Quand je fais de la musique, je parle pour toutes celles et tous ceux qui n'ont peut-être pas voix au chapitre. Parce que j'en ai souffert en tant que femme noire aux États-Unis, tout comme ma communauté et ma famille. Il est de mon devoir d'être la voix de notre propre histoire.
À ses côtés, Paula Smiley, alias Miss Corona, figure incontournable de la scène rap de Détroit. La ville a vu éclore de nombreux talents féminins, notamment dans les années 1990, l'âge d'or du hip-hop Made in Detroit. Aujourd'hui, Miss Corona travaille chez elle avec le jeune guitariste Marcus. Elle fait du rap depuis l'âge de 9 ans. En 2002, elle décroche un petit rôle dans le film 8 Mile avec Eminem, mais elle ne réussit pas à percer.
La scène rap de Détroit.
Anybody speak French?
I do a little bit, but
Okay.
that's why I was like, let me try to find these subtitles, but I didn't see them, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if anybody picked up what they were throwing down, but she's basically they were just talking about how, she's really speaking on, counteracting some of like I guess racism and the different things and really like using art to really showcase difference and beauty and all of that. So it was really cool. I was like, she sent me this link and I can send y'all the link if y'all want to watch through the entire thing in French if you want. I'm probably gonna watch it again because I like watching French stuff and then figuring it out later. But but no, she sent me that link and I was like, someone from France covered this? Like, we're in Detroit.
It's wild.
This is crazy. And
Yeah.
like I said, I love French stuff. So it was like this is really cool. But like it really just showed the power behind our artistry and behind like the global impact is what I really am trying to say. This global impact of our art. And really when we're walking within our purpose and our passion, it doesn't matter if you're from Detroit, if you're from France, if you're from anywhere, like it can be impactful. It can have a presence, it can make a difference, and it can spread a message. And so I thought that was so super duper cool. I don't know if y'all saw my little cameo.
Mm-hmm. With the
With
hat, the hood
the
on.
hat, the purple. But I was actually so that was what 4 or 5 days before I gave birth.
Yep.
And I had it was a mission. I was on a mission to do this because I'm gonna give a little bit of background, and then we're gonna come back to that video and talk more about your show and everything. But um I so Abstract Jazz reached out to me before, like plenty of time before the her actual show and asked me about it. I was like, I want to do it. I want to do it. I'm gonna be real close, you know. I'm gonna have her very soon. But like, oh, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna hope for the best. If it's meant to happen, it's gonna happen. Well, it was perfect. I was able to go. It was really a beautiful artwork to be a part of. I'll say that. And my big old pregnant belly. I was 9 months pregnant, 9 months and 2 weeks pregnant, just sitting there. I had to get my little chair and sing along, but it was so powerful and it was so beautiful. And it was in the same location that when I first revealed that I was pregnant in my own artistic way, which I found out later that no one, not no one, but very few people picked up my hints in my show. But it was at the same location that I revealed my pregnancy um, publicly. And so I was like, it'll be really great to conclude my pregnancy in the same space, sharing some type of message, doing my artistry and everything. So it was really beautiful for me to be a part of of Abstract Jazz's work and what she was sharing. And I really appreciate it. It is an experience I will remember forever.
Oh.
And now it's documented in
Mm-hmm.
French. So, so I
The
think
flex.
yeah, a little flex. Um, but I said all that to say it was an amazing experience, and I want to talk to you more about what that show was, because I know it was a part of like a tour. And so
Mhm.
if you could speak on like what that tour was, what that show was, what your set, why you put your set together the way you did, if you could speak on that.
Yeah. Well, first I want to say thank you so much for being a part of that show. Because I feel like I said, when we first kind of like came in each other's presence, I don't know, I just feel like I've known you already for a while. And I was planning, we spent a whole year prior to 2024. So we spent all of 2023 planning this tour. And I also too was with child. I had just had my son in January of 2023. And so this was like me like signing on saying I'm gonna do this 3-city tour, which included Cleveland, Chicago, and Detroit, with two other artists, Javon Landry out of Chicago, C.W. Allen, originally from Cleveland, but he also resides in Chicago. Known them for a long time. That's like my brother and sister. We had talked about it, but we started setting things in motion. Like I said, 2023, and here I am. I'm a new mom to a son. This is my second child. I'm trying to like prove to myself, like, okay, I have two children. I've created, abstract jazz and all that, that embodies. Do I stop? Like, do I put it down now? Do I walk away? I still have stories to tell. I still have things I want to talk about. I'm still inspired. I'm still creating. And so just joining onto this tour, I feel like it was an opportunity for me to prove to myself, as an artist, as a mom, as a Black woman, that I can do it. And I don't have to do it alone. And so with you being with child at that time, it was just like it was divine, I would even say. So thank you. I'm honored that you were able to be a part of that. It was very special for me to showcase that, particularly in the portion of the tour of Detroit. So the tour was called Hometown Tour that we did last year, and we all performed in our hometowns. And Detroit being my hometown, I wanted to I wanted to show, like you said, how you when you perform Lolly, you were trying to hint, revealing your story about going into motherhood, and I wanted to highlight that. I wanted to show all the moms that rap or sing or crochet or garden or farm or whatever you do. Just because you're a mom, that don't mean you have to put that down. Like, this is the time to really turn it up, and be that example for your children so that they know. So that was really important for me to showcase, like even having you on stage. I just thought that was just so like powerful. Like, yep, she about to have this baby, and she could have a baby tonight. So wouldn't that have been something? So that was important. Even when looking for the space I wanted to perform in, I knew I did not want to do it in a club. I didn't want it to perform anywhere that you would like, kind of like a concert hall. I mean, that would have been dope, maybe in the future, but particularly with it being hometown, I wanted to also emulate the spaces that I once occupied in my early artistry, were the bookshops, were the cafes, were the this is just a space with lights and places for us to plug speakers up into, and it's in a basement of a church. Um, so those are the places and spaces that I occupy as an artist coming up, particularly in Detroit too. So I wanted to showcase that, like, that's the beauty about the artistry in a place like Detroit. It's like there's no limits. Like, you could do Little Caesars, and then you could do the corner somewhere, and it'll still be dope. I can't say that every landscape and every place um provides the space for that to exist, that boldness of like, yeah, this is how I'm gonna do it. And then even with having the footage with Art TV out of France, my sister in rhyme, Miss Corona, a legend. I'm just gonna say that, a legend. Yeah, I invited her to the show. She actually hit me up the day of the show and was like, "Yeah, I got some people coming through. They're doing a story on female artists in Detroit. You mind if they come through?" I'm like, "Sure." Didn't know, they were gonna be from France. I didn't know that, but I even think that that was a divine in a way, like you spoke on before. Um, when you have a message and people can connect, it's gonna carry. It's gonna break barriers of race, whatever label we slap on ourselves. That message is gonna penetrate, and I'm glad that the show, came out like that. And with that being the middle show, because we had another show after we ended in Chicago, it was just like um the perfect middle of the story, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And Detroit just happened to be in the middle of that story during that tour. So yeah, that's how it came about. A lot of art friends that you end up doing life with, and you use your gifts, even when you don't want to, or even when it looks like it's not the right thing to do. But you have that voice inside of you. You can't sleep. You can't just ignore it. You have to get it out. And so that's kind of how that tour and that show came about.
Wow, things just aligning. And that's so beautiful. How things, not I think, I know it is so beautiful how things align in ways that we would have never even fathomed. Okay, it's just like I don't think I just there was nothing. We can have these big grand ideas about how we want things to go, but like it's the things that we had no real thought of that happened, and you're like, oh, like that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool. So, one of one thing that I wanted to ask about on that same kind of space is like is was there a time that you were able to see this? I know like a lot of people, some people are spiritual in some way or have some connection to God, to source or whatever. And so I'm not sure what your experience is in its totality, but like can you speak on a time where it was like something like that happened or something even more grand to you that happened? It was just like I had no idea how it was going to happen or what it was going to do, but like things worked out. It aligned, like it was revealed to me this how everything was going to flow, and it was more beautiful than I could imagine. Was there any other times like that that you can speak on?
I would say 2013. Was it 2013? Maybe 2012. It was between those 2 years. Um, yeah, I have went to a community college in Jackson, Michigan, which is night and day if you compare it to the city of Detroit or even any of the suburbs. Like it was the school and land and grass and nature. And it was a big switch up for me. It was a big change for me at the time, but it was something that I needed, not just in my artistry, but just in my life. I was trying to, figure out what I wanted to do. The big question, like, the post years of high school, you're in your 20s, what are you going to do with your life? That's the question. And I think now I know that answer. Oh, to live it. That's what you do with life. You live it. You live it the best way you can, the best way you know how. You're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna bump your head. And when I moved back, when you talk about plans, we make these plans and then life be like, oh, this is what you really about to do. So I had this plan to like, okay, I'm gonna do the college thing, go really far with the college thing. And at that time, what I needed to achieve at that school and in that place wasn't it didn't have anything to do with academics. It was spiritual. It was me getting up at 6 in the morning and running around a soccer field. Something I've like never done in my life. That became my lifestyle, my health, I would say. Um, so moving back home, yeah, this is like yeah, because I was home for like 3 months before I moved to Chicago in 2014. um I was just coming back to the city after experiencing that. It was just like I kept kind of hitting my head on this wall. Like I tried to pick up the pieces that I tried to pick up the same tools I was using before I moved, and things wasn't happening. It got me in a really depressive place because I'm like, I got all this enlightenment, but what do I do? Um, and so I was literally living in my mom's basement, like in your mom's basement, like going through this depression, trying to find what I want to do, what does success mean? And it got to a place mentally where I thought about, taking my life. And so one day I was down in the dumps writing. I never stopped writing. It's just a lot of the stuff I was writing was really dark and sad, but I was still sharing it and people was loving it. So it was like kind of literally keeping me alive, as cliche as it sounds with artists. Um, it got to a point where I wasn't writing for other people. I was writing letters to myself. I wrote Godspeed, which was actually the letter I was planning to like leave behind. And something, I mean, even till today, when I perform that, I perform it, to myself when I'm in the shower, when I'm like needing a little oof to get through the day. Um, whatever spirit is, I think God wrote that. I'll say that. God wrote Godspeed, which is a poem slash song. I think God wrote that to me. And I felt like every time I had performed that, the feedback I was getting, it was different. It was different than before. Like, oh, you dope, you talented. The response I was getting was more of like how I received earlier on, like in the church. People were being moved by it. And so I took that as like, okay, I have to be responsible with this particular piece. And I'll say from there, I started writing from that voice. So I found a new voice to tell this story in. And it was a very honest and a very raw and a very spiritual and a very vulnerable and funny at times. I love laughing. I think laughing is healing as well. I try to include that in my music. If I could say something silly, like in Jerry Curl, which was in that clip you shared. Yeah, but Godspeed is the piece that I created. They kind of pieced my whole philosophy of how I live my life, even to this day. So that was like my milestone piece there. Yeah.
Wow. I was trying to I was trying to find Godspeed in my in my email.
Oh, yeah.
But what I will do is in the meantime, I want to play one of your pieces. I'll play Jerry Curl. That works since you mentioned Jerry Curl. She is on Spotify. I'm assuming all streaming platforms.
Yeah, all streaming,
Um,
even the YouTube. Just, if you want the free, I'm on YouTube as well.
okay. You have any videos on YouTube? I didn't check.
Yeah, I have some videos.
Okay, hold on. Let's find a video. Let's find a video because I just feel like people love the videos. You know what I'm
Like
saying?
cringe, cringe.
People love videos. Okay, let's see here. Um, I will save y'all the space of me being like, well, let me find 1 second. So I'm gonna go ahead and share Jerry Curl right now while I'm looking for a video. Hopefully you'll be able to hear everything.
And
Uh,
you can hear my little fun fact.
yeah,
You can hear my family coming through the door. You talk about motherhood. I'm recording this song and they're coming through the door. You can hear that in the beginning of the song.
oh, snaps. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
that's really water running, washing the hands coming in.
Hold on. Come on. Come on. You could do it.
Just believe in yourself.
Right.
Sometimes you have to sing that stuff. Believe in yourself, computer.
I know what's going on. It's okay. Here, I'm gonna have to reboot it. I am an avid Spotify user and I have several different devices and
I sang. When people had Apple Music, I'm like, oh, you use Apple Music, okay.
no. All
And then
right.
there's people still use Pandora.
We got it now. We got it.
Yay.
All right. I'm gonna listen for the water.
Coming for a sec, let me talk to you. I don't like the way you walk, can't funk with you. I got my own rhythm, I make my own beats. Too much ego involved, so we don't speak. I ain't self-made, I'm made in His image. In Godspeed, I'ma be there in a minute. Back woman, independent, in the clouds, ain't no limit. They say time is money, I'm watching how you spend it. I'm so passionate, I'm all about peace. You on the sidewalk, you not in the streets. You not on nothing, no, you not a boss. Don't wanna funk with me, what a show loss. Had to hit the block again for the 7 sauce. All good vibes, something off. Whoa, on a nigga speak ill against me. I put a spell on you, I'm feeling frisky. So miss me with that negativity. Better learn to let it be, life is not guaranteed. In between the lines, nigga, guess you gotta learn to read. Love is God, that mean I'm everything. See, I'm off you, I'm on the bigger things. I'm a superstar, see me on the screen. Blowing out your speakers, I'ma make you scream. Making big moves, no it's not a dream. No it's not a dream, no it's not a dream, nah. No it's not a dream, no it's not a dream, no it's not a dream. Judge me, learn to love me. This ain't no dream. Your hands ain't clean. Don't you judge me.
Thank you.
I told y'all gotta go listen to the rest of the music.
Yeah, that's my funk
Beautiful.
record there.
Yes. So production.
Hmm.
Can you speak on the production of that?
So I produced that track.
Okay,
I
that's what I
also,
wanted to hear because you kind of said that yet.
yep.
Okay.
I also, so I do a lot of things. I would say I'm a multidisciplinary. But when it comes to music, more than likely I've made the beat that I'm performing on. I collab with other producers and beat makers. But this in particular, I would say is definitely influenced from my husband. He's a huge Parliament and Funkadelic fan. He's always saying, listen to the bass, listen to the bass. You hear that bass? The bass is what carries it through. And I love like melodic sounds, and so you kind of hear that like in the end, it's like this little chant in the back. It sounds like, I don't know, if glitter had a sound, I feel like that's in there as well. Um, yeah, and it's just bass driven. The drums is just in a steady pocket, and it has that melodic, like, if you will, glitter fairy kind of euphoric tail going on. And again, this is one of me writing out of a place of still having a message, but being funny. Like, this is a reminder to not take life so serious. And the irony is, like, I'm trying to record this song. My family walks in while I'm recording. I mean, they washing their hands, putting keys down. It's their home. This is their home. They're functioning in their frequency while I'm trying to record. So I'm glad that that was captured in that song. And so when that happened, I'm like, I can't take myself too serious.
Mm.
Got to keep the stress down. Let's find something to laugh about. And Jerry Curl is actually my childhood nickname. Because when I was born, I had like a lot of curly hair. My cousin gave me that nickname. And I figured I'm an adult now, and I got in this space of like black exploitation, how we saw pimps as heroes in, movies in the 70s. Um, it's just like kind of showing the complexity as well of blackness. Like, we don't have to always be serious, fighting. Sometimes we like to just go to the barbecue and talk some mess sometimes, play some cards, be outside. I think rest and laughter is just as important as it is speaking up and fighting against and resisting. I think you gotta have that balance. And so Jerry Curl definitely embodies that. And Lolly got to perform that with me at my show and help me out with vocals, which was cool. So I get to do a little singing sometimes. It's fun to sing sometimes as well, as opposed to just rapping. So I got to do all of that in that record, Jerry Curl. Good song. if I don't say so myself.
It is a great song, and I what's that? That was the song that um you were supposed to get covered, right? Was that
Mm-hmm.
the song? You're supposed to get
Yeah,
covered.
yep. So sometimes when I perform that, I actually did it at the Chicago show. I didn't, for some reason I didn't have the material, but I don't know, like, it got this 70s, the drums like right in the pocket. I'm just thinking of like James Brown, like how he performs. And so I thought with that song I could be a little more theatrical. And there's a part where I'm like falling over and someone puts a cover over me, that I've done in other performances, just to add that, that character, another dynamic to my performance, but also a nod to James Brown and all the hard working performers that have come before me. Like, that was just one song with James Brown and other artists. Like, Tina Turner is another one of my favorite live performing artists. How they bring it to the stage, Shaka Khan and what she did with Rufus. Like, they were sweating, they were working. Um, and so I kind of wanted to also like give a nod to that as well when I'm performing that song live. Like really be able to see and smell and savvy self, as I say.
Yes, I love it. So we have about 9 minutes left. And I did find an OG video, but I wanted to give some space to anybody who wanted to ask a question. And also, I know you have mentioned, you were speaking on the power of belief. So if there was any key points you wanted to add there, but the floor is open for you, our guests, and for anyone with questions as well.
Yeah, I'll take any questions. Yeah.
Queen.
Yeah, Jess, thank you for coming. And can you uh, share, or as in the old days they call it, spit something live? Something.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. First, thank you for having me again. It's a pleasure. And I spoke on this poem earlier. It's called Godspeed. So I can share that with you all. Yeah, here we go. Thank God for wishful thinking for what it's worth. Same shit, different day. It seems like it's getting worse. Story of my life written, recited within this verse. Drowned in my ego, but my soul was immersed. Church. How much praying and fasting can one do? Bags under my eyes trying to make my dreams come true. Was nothing new under the sun, but the pain is brand new. See, I know what you're going through, because I've been there too. Now don't look at me like I fell off or like I'm getting soft. Let's see how far you make it. Take your blindfolds off. Use your third eye. Don't cry. Just try. The light is the truth and the shadow is a lie. Give it your all for nothing more, nothing less. Who cares who did it first? Is about who did it the best. When time is on your side and you start to feel the stress, that's when you stand against the odds and then you fall into success. Yes. When you stand against the odds and then you fall into success. Yes. When you stand against the odds. Look, at this point, it's no turning back now. Picture what I went through. Now it's just my background, back against the wall, and never did I back down. You only live once. That's why you gotta act now. God wrote the script to my life, but I'm a producer. I ain't trying to change the world, but you gonna hear my 2 cents. It's funny how my revelation was my revolution. Everybody got problems. Learn to be your own solution. Like, hold on, be strong. You're gonna make it. Hold on, be strong. You're gonna make it. Hold on, be strong. Hold on, be strong. Peace.
Uh,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Um, we got somebody in the comments said, "I'm not crying, you are." Maybe I am crying, but they are
Yeah.
tears of joy.
Mhm.
Someone else said, "Love, thank you for sharing your gifts." We've got another question in the chat along with Star, whose hand is raised. So I'll go with the hand raised first, and I'll come back to the chat. So Star.
Um, you had said that you cannot ignore the voice. Was there ever a time where the voice got really, really loud?
Mm-hmm. Yes, the voice got really loud when I wrote that poem. Because the words that were spoken to me at that time, the place I was in my life, they wasn't always positive or healing or inspirational. The words I was telling myself wasn't that well either. So the voice that was inside of me that got real loud, like I said, I believe that was the voice of God. Like, hey, I gave you this gift. Which you ready to get up out of here? And I gave you something to heal yourself with.
mm,
Um, and so, like I said, when I wrote that, I was writing to myself. Um, Being able to hear that voice in my head was like one phase of my life. And obviously you hear it when it's projected on the microphone or recorded, but being able to speak from the voice that I heard, if that makes sense. So when I speak, I make sure I listen to that voice um, instead of all the other voices that's going on. Um, and that's a practice. That's still a something I'm still challenged with today is how to quiet all those other voices and listen to the one voice
mhm.
that is the reason why I have a voice.
Yeah, before Calvin,
Thank you.
um, 1 second.
Good question.
Um,
Wait a minute. Queen, you
yeah,
about to say something?
I did. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was said. No, um that just that statement that you said, Jazz, about that God told you, I gave you the words for you to heal you. That's so how intricate God is with us. We think everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever and you have it right within yourself. He's giving it to you.
Mm-hmm.
That can you just shut up and listen to yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead. I just
Yeah.
want to acknowledge that.
No, that's important, and that's kind of why I was like, it's all belief. I took a Enneagram quiz. It's like to tell you like your strengths, your top 5 strengths or strength finders. It's a lot of quizzes like that online. And I had to take one for a job I had, and my number one strength was my belief. And I just feel like belief is I feel like that's the place where, at least for me, where I needed to arrive spiritually. Because I feel like first you have hope, you know, and then you have faith. Faith is like having that agreement with God, like, all right, regardless, I know I'm gonna do well and be well. But when you have belief, you just that, you being. It's BE, you be. When you show up, you are. When you do, it's done. If that makes any sense. And so with that poem, and I would say even now I am spiritually and in my artistry and in my motherhood and just how I interact with my community and my village, um, just being, believing. The believing will take like a Lena Horne in the Wiz. I mean, every time she sings that song, when you believe in yourself, it's like tears come down. I'm like, yo, she for real. Like believing in yourself. I think that's the biggest thing to battle with and confront. But it's the most rewarding. It's the most rewarding. Um, so yeah, that's how faith is all intertwined in that is being. Like you said, it's already in you. You just gotta dig it out. Maybe brush it off a bit, maybe repolish it, blow the dust off. But it's
Right.
it's already in you. You're right.
Calvin?
I'm at a loss for, I'm amazed. This great form of setting. I like what you said about learning how to deal with yourself up close and personal and filter out things, because as an artist, you're dealing with your strength and your weaknesses at the same time. And you're learning that not to be intimidated by your fears and doubts. So when you was talking about depression and the poem you just read, but that was a breakthrough for you that a lot of artists is facing and tend with, dealing with dealing with yourself and having the courage to go forward and not being consumed with your fears and doubts, because we're very emotional, we're very intuitive, but we have to learn how to balance that out, because when you have I just say being black in America, not to be focused, but when you're dealing with your situation as a person trying to become a better person, and society is trying to limit you, you have to break out of that shell, and especially for black men. They want you to dumb it down and fit into their paradigm. When you start expressing that, you're a threat to them. Mm-hmm. But you still have to, your voice and what God has laid on you, and you have to go forward. You're looking at Malcolm and Martin. They both suffered from enormous emotional challenges. I didn't know that Martin Luther King has depression issues, but even Malcolm, he battled with that. But then look at it, they still blazed and created a pathway for us, even though they was immensely challenged. So a lot of times we sideline ourselves at our fears and doubts, but see, that's the lower frequency. But God already gave us. We just have to have the courage to go forward.
That's right. That's completely right. Having the
Mm-hmm.
courage.
Mm-hmm.
And when you speak of Malcolm, I really identify with Malcolm's story. I
Yeah.
love Malcolm's story.
Mm-hmm.
And he's from town. Well, he's there for a minute. He's kind of everywhere too.
Yeah.
But just his story, you're right. He displayed his weaknesses and his strengths. And to me, it was more impactful on my life learning about his story. As opposed to what we were given with Martin. It was kind of like he was clean cut. He was ready to go and do this from the beginning. We didn't really see the person of Martin and what he battled. I feel like with Malcolm's story, you saw him bump his head.
That's right.
You saw him commit to something and then realize, okay, this isn't working for me anymore. Let me try something else. And like words of my father always say, he said, you can't give nobody shit if you ain't never been through shit. So it's like, what advice can you give someone if you don't overcome these things? So it's like in the midst of them, it seems bad, but you're gonna gain something from that, and it's gonna be with you, and you're
That's
gonna,
right.
and it's gonna take you to a level you never thought you can achieve. And somebody gonna say, "Hey, how'd you get way up there?" And then you share that story, and then they can get, to another level. And I think that's with the power. That's the real power right there. It's like you said, the world telling you what a black man is, and you deciding, no, this is what I am. This is who I'm called to be. That is a threat. And I've experienced that as well. So it's like you said, it's a balance. It's responsibility and it's power.
And it's divine within you that you have to lean more on the Lord and not your own understanding. And we're really at interesting times because we're being forced to be the person that we're designed to be. And to be submitting to anything else to disservice to our lineage, our ancestors, as well as the generations to come. You think about Patrice Lumumba was killed for the very things that Abraham is doing right now. But yet Abraham is willing to risk everything for what he believes in. And we have to do the same thing because God got us. Because see, you can't kill us all. You really, the indomitability of the human spirit is so profound that really they don't have a choice but to concede to us because we're here and we're not going nowhere.
We just getting bigger and better and blacker. Yeah, and I connect. I always say I'm my grandfather's, granddaughter. My grandpa, my mother's father. He had 2 sets of twins. He had 5 kids. He took care of them. There was a story that came from Kaziasa, Mississippi on a wagon. I got up at 3 a.m. and started finding documents, and there was a wagon. So I carried that with me as well. Like, I'm sure they had rough days, maybe even rougher. I can feel how I feel, but if they survive that, for me to be here, I gotta keep going. So yeah, all beautiful, beautiful. Yes.
Wow, thank you. The last 2 questions. We got sorry if I say your name wrong. Uniquel is in the chat and asked, what are you working on currently? Also, I'm gonna add to that, how can we find you? And then Mama Evelyn will have the last question or comment.
Yeah, so right now I am working on photography and acting, and a little bit of stand-up comedy. So maybe a one-woman show may come next. Who knows? I really like performing music and poetry, but I also like expressing things through other mediums of art. So I'm finding a way to combine that. That's what I said. Maybe a one-woman show may come next. And you can find me on pretty much all of the social platforms. Instagram is AbStract Jazz, ABSTRACT_JAZ. Yeah, I'm on Facebook, AbStract Jazz, all of the music streaming, AbStract Jazz. Yeah, that's where you can find me. And then my website, ABJZ Peace, AbJZPeace.com. So AbJZPeace.com. That's my website, and you can find everything there.
Awesome. Thank you. Mama Evelyn?
I wanted to thank you for the poem because it's prevalent right now. And as Calvin was saying, I have a grandson, and we have been going through his depression and self-harm, and but we have been working with him, and there's a therapist, but I feel that in the last week, because his mother and I stepped up as his staunch supporters, as you don't have to go over your dad's house if you do not want to, and we will stand with you by that. And I really like that song, and I will share it with him because he is so talented, and I just, we want to give him every opportunity. So thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you all for listening and just being receptive to my story. Thank you. And thank God for this day.
Yes.
It's not even noon.
It's not. Well, again, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. It's always nice when we can hear about someone's passion and their purpose in life and how it impacts the world, and that means that it impacts us. So thank you so much. With that being said, I would like to, unless Queen, did you have anything else you wanted to add? No? Okay, cool. Well, I would like to close this out in the way we always do. Let's hug ourselves. Give yourself some love because you need it. Oh, yes. And then let's hug the world. Let's hug the world because the world needs it too. But we have to give ourselves some love first. You know what I'm saying? Now we can pour our overflow into everybody else. And then we're going to sprinkle love and kindness and abstract jazz art and and love and music and everything over everything. And especially to people who carry the torch and lead us in life. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you all. It's a wonderful Passion and Purpose Friday, and peace out.
Yo, I'ma go off when I step up in this thing, low down and dirty.